Hey, happy Pride Month. I put on this dress just for you. So, today is June 2nd, and I read 10 books in the month of May. So I'd like to share them with you. Y'all, this was like the best reading month I've had in a long time. I was just hitting banger after banger. I just felt like my brain was like reforming itself. It was all of these books were so good, and either they were like super fun and adventurous or like cozy, or they were like fascinating intellectually in a way that like reshaped the way that I thought about things. Just delightful. Okay, let's get started. So the first book that I read in the month of May was A Burst of Light and Other Essays by Audre Lorde. As always, bow down to the queen. Lorde just has this way of making even the most nebulous of academic subjects accessible. My favorite bit was A Burst of Light, the titular part. It's a collection of journal entries from her second battle with cancer, and some of the stuff that she says, like her words on power within a sick body, and how that relates to activism and politics, were so moving for me, and something that I'm going to be thinking about for a long time. Next, Jade City by Fonda Lee. Y'all, my friend Rachel, you know Rachel, I talk about her all the time on this channel, read this like 2 or 3 years ago, and she told me to read it then, and had been in the back of my mind ever since. This was so fun. I mean, everything that I could ever have wanted and things that I didn't even know that I wanted were in this. A mob family fantasy novel. I love the family dynamics. I love the power system, just an absolute blast. I know a lot of you have probably read this already because this did make its rounds on BookTube ages ago, and I'm just, as always, slow to the party. But if you haven't, I can't recommend it enough. Also, was in love with the way that like Jade was incorporated with facial piercings. You know I'm an emo kid at heart, and they were like in eyebrows, noses, like cartilage. So cool, so cool. Next, I read The Hilby Climb, an inaugural poem for the country by Amanda Gorman. I've been waiting to get my hands on this ever since January, so I was delighted to finally see it come through on my Libby loans. Download Libby now, today. It was everything I hoped for. If you need any convincing to read it, 1, it's super short, I read it in like an afternoon, and 2, this line. Because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. Also, my notes are down below you, so if you see me looking down, that's what's happening. Next, I read City of Ember by Jeanne Dupro. A cool story, fun relationships, but bro, so fatphobic, just aggressively so. The main villain is fat, and it's given to be like part of the reason why he's a villain, and it's just nonstop, especially like in the second act of the story. It's like, he's fat and he's evil. Are they connected? You tell me. And the thing is that it was actually really good up until then, but once it started going down that path, it just went so hard on that narrative and I couldn't get past it. Next, I read The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. Y'all. Okay, let's talk about this. When I read this book in high school, and I'm about to expose myself on the internet here, I loved Holden Caulfield. Yeah, embarrassing, I know. I was like, I am Holden Caulfield, I understand. But now, I read it, I'm older, I'm wiser, and now I know that Holden is annoying and in desperate need of some therapy. This book is stupid, and J.D. Salinger is a predator. So, 2 out of 5 stars. Next, this is the big kahuna for the month. This one really... Okay, next is The Will to Change, Men, Masculinity, and Love by Bell Hooks. This is the big kahuna for the month of May, and honestly probably for the full year. Genuinely one of the best books I've ever read in my whole life. It just changed the way that I think about the patriarchy and about men, and is definitely going to heavily impact how I interact with men in the future. I don't know how I can do it justice by explaining it to you. I, as always, when I don't have the proper words, have a few quotes, but the best thing that I can tell you is just to read it. It was so, it felt like, you know, in life sometimes you read things and they're like before and after books. Like for me, Harry Potter is a before and after book, and The Raven Cycle is a before and after book, and The Will to Change is now for me a before and after book. There is a Catherine before and there's a Catherine after, and I like the Catherine after a lot better. I think she's more understanding. I'm gonna read you some lines, but I just cannot recommend enough that you read this book. Progressive feminist research on adolescent males has debunked the heretofore accepted notion that it is natural for boys to go through an antisocial stage where they disassociate and disconnect. Recent studies indicate that it is actually emotionally damaging to young males to be isolated and without emotional care or nurturance. In the past, it was assumed that aggression was part of the ritual of separation, a means for the growing boy to assert his autonomy. Yet clearly, just as girls learn how to be autonomous and how to create healthy distance from parents without becoming antisocial, boys can do the same. And this is a separate quote. Ending patriarchy is necessary for men to have collective liberation. It is the only resolution to the masculinity crisis that most men are experiencing. To offer men a different way of being, we must first replace the dominator model with a partnership model that sees interbeing and interdependency as the organic relationship of all living beings. If I was to only recommend you one book, honestly, in like my whole life, that one that'll really make an impact on you, this is it. Unfortunately, this one followed The Will to Change, because otherwise I think I would have been more wowed by it. Next I read How to Do Nothing, Resisting the Attention Economy by Jenny Odell. Must read for anybody, any and all people existing in this capitalist hellscape. It brought me like some inner peace that I didn't expect to find, but it wasn't as spectacular as I was expecting, because I've just heard this recommended time and time again. Maybe it's because it came after like one of the best books of my life, so I can't fault that. Next, I read Crochet and Cauldrons by Nancy Warren. This is book 3 of the Vampire Knitting Club series. Y'all, I love this series. These books are just so fun. They're so soft and cozy and just I love them so much. If you're looking for a cozy mystery or even like a little British interaction, because it's set in England, go for it. Have a little taste. I can't recommend enough. Next, I read The Complete Poems and Selected Letters of John Keats. Bro, I love Keats, my emo king. Now, I'm not a huge fan of his poetry. Controversial, I know. Honestly, I skimmed most of that bit. I'm sorry, John, I love you, but I think his poetry is a little over the top, and honestly, I find it kind of tiring. But I love the letters. I love reading the letters of writers. I think it's amazing to see their intimate, like, personal work and how their brain is, like, working when it's at its most vulnerable, which is, I think, what letters are, and just so delightful. Also, this is unrelated to the letters, but one of the poems is titled Lines on Seeing a Lock of Milton's Hair. My fanboy, I love him. Just a cutie pie. And here are a couple iconic lines from the letters. I think poetry should surprise by a fine excess and not by singularity. It should strike the reader as a wording of his own highest thoughts and appear almost a remembrance. If poetry comes not as naturally as the leaves to a tree, it had better not come at all. And then finally, this one. I have a habitual feeling of my real life having passed and that I am leading a posthumous existence. My king, love him. Finally, I read Powerless by Matthew Cody. Guys, this book slaps. It was my favorite as a kid, holds up today. Honestly, a lot of the books that I've been rereading from childhood are really good to this day. Children's superheroes, check. Mystery, check. Power issues, check. Found family, check. It has it all. Super fun. Matthew Cody is an excellent writer. So I do highly recommend this one. It's a fun little romp. And the mystery is actually very, very good. You don't know what's happening until the last minute. So I think that's all I have for you. Happy Pride Month. I'm going to be posting a lot of videos this month, so stay tuned. If you like this video, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. COVID seems to be winding down, maybe. So I hope y'all are doing well. I already said like, comment, and subscribe. I need to not mess with the order. It messes me up. Okay, bye guys.